this is Jason. We're going to be taking you through a lower body form seminar. So essentially we're going to be going through each of the muscle groups. We're going to be showing you different angles of the exercises, talking about some modifications, different body positions. Jason will be showing you where the band goes. And we're just going to take you through. We'll do a count of 10 for each exercise so you can kind of get a feel for it. And you ready to get started?
Yep, let's get started.
All right, okay. So we're going to start with the quads. The quads are the muscle right here. It's the front part of your leg. We're going to start with the squat. So with squats, if we have the bands are up, weight is in our heels. So when weight's in our heels, we are sitting it back, our chest stays up, pushing through those heels and coming right back up. If we're from the side, we want our knees to stay over our ankles as we sit it back. So chest stays up as much as you possibly can, we're sitting it down, weights in the heels, and coming back up. So with the squats, you should be able to wiggle your toes as you do that movement. So we'll do a nice slow count of 10.
I just wiggle my toes.
Yes, wiggle your toes, make sure you can. That's how you know your weight's in your heels. We're gonna do a nice slow count of 10. Ready, and down, and up, 1, down, 2, down, 3, squeeze at the top. You got it, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. The next exercise we're going to do is the seated leg extension. So with this exercise, you would need your O-ring if you're going to use an O-ring. With lower body, you can use your body weight for all of the exercises. You don't actually have to have a band. So keep that in mind. If we're working the right side, my right foot would go through the band and I'd be stepping on it with my left foot. With the seated leg extension, you want to keep your knees together. You're resisting against that band on the way up and then controlling it down. You want to control the band doesn't control you. So extend it up, squeeze that quad at the top, and control it right back down. So we'll go ahead and do a count of 10.
Okay.
All right, ready, and we've got 1, control it down. There you go. We've got 2, squeeze it at the top, and resist down. 3, control it, there we go. We've got 4, resist. 5, make sure those knees are physically touching. We've got 5, resist it. 4, resist. 3, you got it. 2, resist it. And 1, control it down. Nicely done. That is our seated leg extension. Anything to add on those two?
Yeah, usually on the seated leg extensions, what I like to explain is a lot of people put their toes forward. So I like to say lead with the toes and drop down with the heel. And just like all resistance, the motion going up or motion coming down needs to be slower than going up. So leading with the toes, dropping the heel slowly.
All right. The next exercise we're going to do is the sitting straight leg hip flexion. This exercise is also done with the O-ring. Once again, we're still working the quads. So the quads are this part of our leg right here, that front part. With this exercise, once again, you're going to need the O-ring. This time it would go around both of your ankles. Once again, you're back on those forearms, so it's a somewhat similar setup as last time. I always like to start with my heel of whatever leg I'm working above the opposite toe. And that helps me put tension on the band. So I'm controlling it up, that foot is flexed, and then controlling it back down. I'm stopping above that other toe so that I'm not pulling it up and dropping it down and losing that control or that resistance. So, all right, so we've got a count of 10. All right, ready, and 1, squeeze it at the top. 2, resist it down. 3, You got it. 4, resist. 5, looking good. We've got 5, control it. 4, 3, 2, control it down. 1, control it. There we go. When you have the band, one thing that we sometimes start to see is people will flick it and they won't control it. And so that's why we always say, or why Jason recommended, you want to come down slower than what you go up. It's so you are controlling that band in both directions and really keeping resistance on that band.
Yep. Perfect.
All right. The last, well, I guess I'm going to show you 2 more quad exercises. We're going to hit up the lunge. The lunge is an exercise that if you have knee problems with, might struggle a little bit with this exercise. When we're exercising, nothing should ever be painful. And so we're going to show you some modifications should you need them, but just kind of know that in your head. If it hurts, don't do it, all right? Sometimes there will be muscle soreness, but you should never be in pain while you're working out. All right, so for lunges, I always like to have people start with their feet shoulder width apart. Why? Because we're going to slide one foot back, and if I have my foot behind my other foot, I probably don't have great balance. But if my weight's evenly distributed, if my feet are shoulder width apart, I slide that foot straight back and I have some width and depth between my feet. It makes it a lot easier to hold that balance. So you want to take a nice long stance. If you were here at the gym, it would be about, your feet would be about a block apart. You want to keep your chest up. Kind of like the horses on the carousel, they go straight up and straight down. That's what you're going to do with this lunge. Again, we're working the quad. So with this exercise, we're sinking it down nice and low. That knee is hovering right above the mat, pushing up through that front heel and really squeezing that quad at the top. Anything you'd like to add?
We notice a lot of times people like to bend over. We talked about injuries and things happening to hurt ourselves. I always like to be head up, chest up, I say it the most. And I know we're working the quad, I just want to drop my hips down, think about my big muscle, and just pushing it up. So the biggest thing is protecting our back, protecting injuries by doing it the right way. And it might take a band or 2 less color than what you're used to, besides leaning forward and pushing through it. Straight up, straight down, get that knee as close to the mat as you can. Use that big quad muscle to push us all the way up.
All right, so chest up, head up, nice long stance, width between your feet. We've got a count of 10, ready, and down, push up through that front heel, 1, down, 2, you got it, 3, 4, squeeze that quad at the top, 5, we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. If you have problems with your knees, the first modification is to do it without a band. So like you've seen, I haven't used a band yet. That's always the first modification. Don't use a band. Second modification would be to find an object around the house and use that for some of that stability and balance. So the action is still going to be the same with dropping that knee down and coming back up. You're still working that quad, but you've got a little extra support with you as you do that. That still doesn't work for you, too much tension on the knee, you can go to the standing leg extension, which also works the quad. So with that, you are bringing your leg parallel to the ground, extending that leg out, and bringing it back in. Really squeezing this muscle at the top. If you have an O-ring, then you would put it underneath your left foot. You would be stepping on it with one foot, and it would be around the other, bringing the knee up, extending that band out, and controlling it back in. We're being totally honest, I don't need a band to feel this exercise.
I don't use a band ever.
So, and that's an easy modification to do whether you're at home or here at the gym. You can also work your core by doing it without a bag, and that checks your balance as well. So those are some of our main quad exercises that we're gonna go over. I'm gonna hand it over to Jason to go over the hamstrings.
Okay, so again, we're just going back to the basics because when everybody comes back, we'll have a lot more new people. Some people may take a break coming back. So going back to the fundamentals, I know being in this program for a long time, I'm actually going down in band color, and I think my soreness and my workouts are progressing by just going down in band color and doing everything correctly. So we're gonna work on the hamstrings, as you know, the big muscles behind our legs. The first one's the lying leg curl that we can do with an O-ring. Modifications to this is really not that much, but since Cathy's not using a band, she's gonna bring her heel all the way up, and she's gonna squeeze tight on that hamstring, and she's gonna force that leg back down. The biggest thing is the resistance, coming back down, forcing that gravity, even if it's just the weight of our leg or the resistance band itself, coming back down. So what I like to do on this one, if you have O-ring at home, is we know how to set the band on our left foot between our heel and the top of our foot. Right foot's through. Hips have to be glued to the mat, so I'm gonna bring my heel up as high as it can go. Once again, width throughout the band, squeezing at the top and force that band back down. The reason why I always say don't let your right toes touch the mat, because once your toes touch the mat, that resistance on that band goes away. So we gotta keep that band tight, keep that muscle tight. So we'll do 10. Here we go. We're bringing it up, squeezing for 1, resisting down. Up, squeezing for 2, resisting down. Up for 3, getting that heel as high as we can go and coming down. 4, and back down. 5, back down. 5, and down. Up for 4, down. We got 3, and down. 2, and always on the last one, really squeeze the last one and release it even slower than normal. Perfect. So that's our lying leg curl. It's just getting that heel up. Our hamstrings are a little bit stronger too, so a lot of people want to use a heavy band color, but the range of motion gets shorter. So I always like to go light and go that full range of motion, so we're working the entire hamstring, just not part of it too. So we'll get back on our feet and we'll talk about the step back lunge. So as Cathy positioned herself with the quads on her lunges, I like the fact that she said, feet are shoulder width apart. We can still do this in the start of our step back lunge, but it is the same movement that we're doing on our quads. But this time, we're not working the quads. We're going to use that big hamstring in our lunge position and pull us up. All right? The thing is, getting used to this, sometimes when we get tired, we feel like we have to push off with our back foot. That just takes everything away from the hamstring. So Cathy makes good points in her classes too. When she comes back, what she likes to do after she goes to lunge is pick this foot up, so it forces you to pull yourself back up too. So I'm going to work the left side on this because I just did right side, lying leg curl. So in position, head up, chest up. I always say abs always tight to protect that lower back. We're going to go right foot back, left knee down, and pull up with our left hamstring. Here we go, right foot down, up, good. Down, pull, 2, down, pull, 3, down, pull, 4, down, pull, 5. Our position has not changed. 5, all the way down, 4, 3. We're thinking about that right or left hamstring. 2, working the entire time. 1. So when you're done with the step back lunges, a lot of times we do our fast counts too. So other instructors do it differently, and I know our counting's a little bit different than normal, or a lot of people's. So if we get to a point where it's too fast, there's no reason to stop here to keep up with the count. So I always say if there's a fast count of 16, but you're doing it the full range of motion right away, still continue to go all the way down and up. get as many reps as you can in. Whatever the other class is doing, just go the 4-inch motion. Anything to add on that?
No, there are a lot of different visuals for the step back lunge. I know when Steph instructs, she likes to say it's like you're pulling your back foot through mud. And that's really just to get the idea of you're not pushing off that back foot, because that's really what people tend to do when they get fatigued, is they start pushing rather than pulling. So whatever visual you need, whether it's to step back and pick your foot up so you have to pull yourself up, or whether it's going down and dragging that foot up, either way is correct. The main idea is that you really want to isolate that hamstring.
Right. And modifications on this too is just like what Cathy showed you in the quad. Is finding a place around the room and coming up like this. You can still do the same thing with the hamstrings. We call it the standing leg curl. So we want you to push you through, because you don't like the step back lunges, which a lot of people don't, and you don't want to do it. That's really not an excuse, but if you do feel the pain in your knees, the best thing is to work the right side, have those knees together, bring that heel up, squeeze that hamstring, and use the weight of that leg as a resistance coming back down. So again, you can modify this way as well. This exercise is a little bit easier to use with an O-ring too, but again, doing it correctly, squeezing to the top, releasing slowly down, you'll still feel it in the hamstrings. We're going to move on. I'm going to grab a medicine real quick for the quarterback squats.
Another modification for the step back lunge would be, once again, to just be near that bag for balance. And that motion's still going to be the same, but if you're struggling with that balance, a bag, a chair, if you're at home, whatever, something that's stable can be helpful.
Yep. I've always been told working out in gyms is think about the muscle group we're using. So let the instructors do the counting, but in the middle of your routines, every time you go through the motions, think about that right or left hamstring or left and right quad that you're using. Just think about that muscle group working the entire time. I feel like when I think of, especially with the back, keeping the biceps out, when I think about the muscle group I'm using, I feel it's working a little bit better because I'm really concentrating on that muscles. Quarterback squats. So typically you would have a medicine ball. This still can be used without any resistance. I like to go at least past shoulder width apart, okay? And again, once again, we're working with our hamstrings. We got to keep those abs tight to protect that lower back. There's a couple ways to do it. A lot of our groups tend to hold the medicine ball close to their chest, and they're going to squat it low, and they stick their hips straight in the air by stretching those hamstrings out. To me, personally, and I know Cathy likes to do this too, I gently rest my elbows on my quads. It just gives me a better base so I can really concentrate on those hamstrings. But even going down in that squat, my head up, my chest is up, and I'm focused. So from here, with keeping my back straight, I'm just sticking that tailbone straight in the air, stretching those hamstrings out, and I'm coming back down into place. This is always going to be a slow count, so there's nothing that we need to hurry up on the fast counts. But let's do 10 and see how we can do. Toes point to the front, wide face stance. We're going to squat it low, come up slow for 1. Squat it low, come up slow for 2. We're down. 3. See, every time I go down, I'm looking straight at you. 4. I can feel it in my hamstrings now. 5. For 5, keep that squat low. 4, 3, 2, and 1. To me, this could be considered the easiest exercise we do, unless you do it right. It's probably the exercise I feel in my hamstrings the most. Last hamstring exercise I want to show you is the henpeck, using that figure 8 band. You can use a figure 8 band, or I see a lot of people modify in class using the medicine ball. So, once again, we're going to pick one side or the other. We can do the right side if you want. Thinking about that right hamstring. This obviously is a balance for you too, so even coming down, we still like to look up, keep the tension off our neck, and think about that hamstring pulling us up. The farther you go down into this head pec, the more of that hamstring you are working and coming up. But so the higher the band color, it may be a little bit harder to go all the way down, so I still like to use a light colored figure 8 band for this, or a light colored medicine ball. Super important, we always say keep your abs tight, all right? Keep your abs tight on every exercise, especially this. Keeping our core tight is gonna protect that lower back, because we do have some tension coming down that lower back to pull us up too. So always keep those abs tight. Let's do 10 here, Kathy. We'll work on form, slow and control. So my abs are tight. We're gonna go down and up for 1. Think about our hamstrings. Down for 2. Down. 3. Down. 4. Down. 5. Down. 5. Down. 4. Down. 3. Down. 2. Last one. 1. So, keeping the core tight, thinking about our hamstrings, obviously work on balance, another great hamstring exercise that we do.
I like to find a focal point with that exercise, usually something that's on the mat. That way I can really focus on that as I'm engaging my core. When you have that focal point, helps with that balance. Another modification, once again, would be standing near the bags. You also can put that back foot down. So let's say I have that figure 8 band, I can still be going down and back up, really engaging that hamstring, thinking about that hamstring. The movement is the same, but that back leg gives you a little bit more stability.
So, good. On to the inner outer thigh.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna start with some sumo squats. Sumo squats really work the inner thighs. We usually use a medicine ball when we're doing the sumo squats, or nothing at all. With sumo squats, I like to take my feet out at least a block apart, and so quite a bit wider than hips. Your toes are gonna point out and your knees are gonna point out. As you go down, you're really squeezing those inner thighs as you push up through your heels, all right? So toes point out, knees point out. You're sitting it back into that squat, knees stay over ankles, push up through those heels, squeezing those inner thighs at the top. All right, we've got a count of 10, ready, and down, 1, down, 2, squeeze it at the top, 3, 4, 5, you've got it, 5, squeeze it at the top, still sinking it low, 4, 3, 2, keep that chest up, and 1, nicely done. All right, so those are our sumo squats. Next exercise we're gonna do, still working, we're actually gonna go to the outer thigh. You're gonna need the O-ring for this exercise. We're gonna start with the double outer thigh. With that exercise, the O-ring goes around both ankles. You're gonna be leaning it back, squeezing your core. Your feet are in a 6-inch leg lift. Toes point in, you're leading with your heels. So you're going out and bringing it back in. We're working that outer thigh right in through here. All right, count of 10, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, toes point in, lead with the heels, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, nicely done. All right, next exercise we're gonna do for the inner thigh, also with the O-ring, you're gonna be on your right side, all right? Band goes around your right ankle, you're stepping on it with your left foot. With this exercise, I want you to envision having a plate on your foot or something that you would have to balance. We're bringing that foot up. You really want to try and get your knee to meet your other knee Foot stays flat and parallel to the floor, and you're controlling it down. We're squeezing that inner thigh as we bring that leg up and controlling it down. Anything to add?
No, I always say keep the core so we're not rocking or swinging. So the core's got to be stabilized on the side. So that main focus is going to be our inner thigh. So you won't see us shifting our body weight just to get that up. Everything's going to be stabilized here.
Yep. That inner thigh is the part of your leg that's doing the work for this exercise. So we've got to count to 10. Ready? And 1. Control it down. You don't want to just drop it. 2. Resist. We've got 3. Resist it down. 4. Resist. We've got 5. Resist. 5. You guys got it. 4. Squeeze that inner thigh. 3. Resist. 2. Resist. And 1. Resist it down. Notice we're not on any of these exercises, we're not bringing our leg up and dropping it down. There's always control with or without that band. The last outer thigh exercise we're gonna do is the outer leg lift. So with this exercise, the band is around both ankles. We're laying on our sides. We are resisting up and controlling back down. We really work that outer thigh by making sure that those toes point down. All right, when our toes start to point up, we start working the quad all over again, and we already did that. So we want to make sure those toes point down, and we're really working that outer thigh. All right, we've got to count to 10. Ready? And 1, 2, 3. Control it down. 4, 5. We've got 5. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. And that is it for our inner and outer thigh.
So a couple things too, Kathy. Not a lot of band killer needed for these as well, especially in the outer thigh. It's that spacing between the ankles, all right? And once again, the same rule applies. The motion coming down has to be slower than coming up. And what we talked about on the 6-inch, think about this next time you're doing a 6-inch leg lift. We say 6 inches, but sometimes we're at 12, all right? Sometimes we're even at 24. But having that 6-inch leg lift really puts more tension on those legs too. It's just something to think about when we say 6-inch leg lift. Take a look at where your toes are and your heels are, how far they're off of the mat too. But slow and controlled resistance is the biggest thing. That's why we call it resistance training. So we're not letting that band or that gravity do all the work too. So just want to add that as well.
Yep.
Moving on to the glutes.
Yep.
Okay, glutes. All right, everybody's favorite asset, right? We don't have to asset anymore.
See what you did there.
First one's the donkey kick. And there's plenty of ways to, or not really plenty of ways, but there's a certain way that we can do anything if you don't have a figure 8 band at home. So when I talk about going down in that kneeling position, I talk about being level on top, all right? Level on top. When we get tired, we start to lean one way or another. It can take tension off the side that we're using, but being level on top keeps us strong on top. Mia always talks about pulling that belly button in or sucking that belly button in. Well, that's going to keep our core tight and protect that lower back too. So on donkey kicks, with or without the band. Without the band, we can definitely do what we call heel stamps. Bring it up higher, leave those heel, and coming back into place. How I like to reset is that full range of motion. So when we come back into place, we're going to bring that right knee into our chest and kick it all the way out. So that whole range of motion is working for ourselves. With that band, our glutes are strong, so we can go fairly heavy. So we're bringing that knee into our chest and we're gonna kick it straight back as if we're pushing something right behind us too. Now let's do a full range of motion. If you want to do the heel stamp part without the band, I'll go straight back. We'll only do 10. Here we go, right knee into the chest, kick it all the way back for 1. All the way in, back 2. All the way in, back 3. Good. 4. All the way in. 5, keeping that core tight. 5, even on top, we're not leaning. 4, 3, 2, last one, and 1. Another modification is this, just like the fire hydrants we do in kickboxing class. So if the heel stamp's not enough, you can definitely circulate into the fire hydrants. A lot of times with these glute combos, we tend to end with those fire hydrants, but just something to think about, keeping that side tight. Anything else to add on the kickbacks? The other thing we do in class is the straight leg hip raise. All right, I'm gonna go to the left side on this. Different ways to do the hip raises. What works best for me and what can work best for you is, once again, I'm even on top, belly button's pulled in. I have my left leg straight back. So it's kind of even. If you see Cathy's leg and back are kind of even. To me, what works best for me is a shorter range of motion. So when I have my left leg out, I'm bringing up and squeezing, maybe 6 to 8 inches. I'm coming back to the plane of my back. I see a lot of people take momentum, all right, which they're going for a larger range of motion, but stopping at the plane of our back and going up those 6 to 8 inches, you really feel it in the glute. So, Cathy, without a band, obviously go a little bit higher than 6 to 8 inches. With the band, I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit up and control it back down. We'll do 10 here. Left leg straight out. Here we go. Bring it up for 1. Drop it down. 2. Drop it down. 3. Very efficient. You can feel it now. 4. 5. 5. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Excellent. So once again, working the left or right side, really focusing, have your mind set on each side and working, and making sure we're doing the exercises correctly, but always remember resisting. Like I said, feel free to grab a lighter band color than normal, and try to go full range of motion. Think about the resistance and see if that changes the way your body feels the next few days.
That's pretty much it for lower body.
Yep.